Hey, welcome. Welcome to our show here tonight. Welcome to We'll Sing and We'll Shout. I am your host, Steve Hansen, and I am here with Cheryl, who's on here. You want to throw a hello out there, Cheryl?
Hi,
Um,
everybody. Happy Sunday evening.
let's see. I guess I could enlarge myself, but people kind of know what I
What
look
you look
like.
like.
But yeah, that's not really working. Um, so, yeah, tonight, let's see. Is that going to let me? There I am. Okay, so yeah,
Ah,
tonight.
hi, Steve.
Tonight, we're going to talk about the history of Greyhaven Farm and about the Guernsey cows and how that kind of what the background story was there.
And what a
And
history it is.
and Cheryl's going to share a nice story that was written. I didn't realize that was 1992 that was written up, Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a nice history there that was written by the RFD News. And I also didn't realize that came right out of Bellevue, Ohio there
Yeah,
until you updated me here recently.
right.
So we've got some really great pictures to share and some great history. And I think, Cheryl, without further ado, I'm going to let you go ahead and jump in here and share. So,
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. All right.
do you want this up first,
Um,
or do
why
you
don't
want
you
our
throw
door?
up? Why don't you throw up the picture of the article? Okay,
Yeah,
there it
that's what I
is.
got.
Yep.
That's what I got. Yep.
Okay. So this is an interesting story. This RFD News was a newspaper that came out in Bellevue, and what's really interesting is that Martin and I ended up buying a house on 284 West Main Street in Bellevue, which ended up being the original location where they printed the RFD News. They were named the Detlefson, Eileen, and I can't remember the dad's name, but she was the one who he had been passed for quite a while. But when she passed, then they sold the house, and Martin and I were able to get it, and we did a lot of renovations to it, but we still kept the old charm. We kept a lot of her wallpaper and stuff. But upstairs in the hallway, there was this little room off to the side, and it had a tag on the door. It was like a little brass plate that said printing press or something like that. Well, when you open that door, there was a half bath in there. But apparently, before they put the half bath in, that was their printing room. They had their printing press in there. So that's where they ran this newspaper off until they ended up getting an office in downtown Bellevue. But so they also had a really neat setup in the basement where they had like one area with a sink and stuff. And I think they did a lot of their layouts down there in the basement. It had like a red and white check floor, and it was a neat house to live in. We're kind of sad that we sold that house. But anyway, so this RFD News was written by those people. And it's this particular article is about our grandfather. The farm that we grew up on, Greyhaven Farm, was in our family for, I think by the time they sold it, it definitely would have been a century farm, don't you think, Steve?
Yeah, they moved there in the early 1900s.
Yeah,
So it was a century, but it wasn't a whole lot more than that.
yeah. Okay, that's what I thought.
So
So our grandfather went to breeding Guernsey cattle, and he became very good at it, and he won all sorts of awards. So this particular article is about Grandpa receiving the Lifetime Guernsey Cattle Award. I'm sure it says in here somewhere. I'll just read it. So
yeah, go
Bellevue,
ahead.
a rural Bellevue farmer who earned a state and national reputation for his successful breeding of top Guernsey show cattle in the 1950s and 1960s, was presented the Top Lifetime Achievement Award, the E.J. Reinhardt Award, by the Ohio Guernsey Association earlier this year. William Arthur Hansen, and then they give his address, received the award, one of two given this year at the Ohio Guernsey Convention held in mid-March in Columbus. Hansen, the owner of Greyhaven Farm, took a serious interest in purebred Guernsey cattle with the purchase of Remilton Golden Ruth in 1933. So how old would Grandpa have been then? Like 20, right?
He was born in 16, so
Okay.
33, that puts him at 17 years old, it seems like. Um,
He was born in 16.
so in 26, he's 10, so in 36, he's 20, so he's
Holy crap. Yeah, younger than I.
17 years old. I might just add that his dad had a Guernsey cow or two around there, but they weren't a dairy farm at that point. They just had some dairy cows, like a lot of farms would have a variety of animals,
Right.
but it wasn't really necessarily a dairy farm at that point. So he got exposed to Guernseys because his dad had some Guernseys there.
Nice. Um, let me remind me to tell you the story about the Guernseys on Facebook later.
Yeah.
The purchase of this cow led to a purebred Guernsey cattle breeding program and national recognition within 15 years. Hansen showed Guernsey cattle at district, state, and national shows for over 20 years. A native of Thompson Township, Hansen, who was the youngest of 7 children, opted to stay on the family farm following his graduation from the former Thompson High School in 1934. As the class valedictorian, he was also the school's first student to earn the state farmer degree in FFA and was elected to a state FFA office his senior year. I didn't know that about Grandpa, but it doesn't surprise me a bit.
I did know that he was a state officer. Yes. Yeah.
That's right, because you have that picture of like 5 FFA guys.
He
That
was the treasurer for the state of Ohio.
Yeah,
Now whatever, I don't know. It's not like it's not. I don't know. He's actually counting the money, but it's a title. Yeah.
right.
So
In addition to FFA and scholastics, Hansen was picked as all-county center on the varsity basketball team. Well, he was quite tall. He married the former Margaret Lutz on March 23rd, 1937, in a ceremony that was held on the family farm. During the 1950s, a complete story on one of Hansen's purebred Guernsey cattle, Greyhaven Pat, the granddaughter of the original Remilton Golden Ruth, was published in the Guernsey Breeders' Journal. Now, we have a picture of Pat somewhere. Do you have that?
Pat, is
Pat
this the
is
one?
yep. Well, she's the one. Yeah, I think so. She's in my hallway here, right?
Yeah, that's Pat. Yep.
Okay. Um, so there's Pat. Isn't she beautiful? At the time, only 2 other Guernsey dams with 2 or more daughters were classified as excellent in the nation. Hansen took a herd of 20 or more cows, heifers, and bulls to the Ohio State Fair every year. Because his animals were homebred, they won many first-place prizes throughout the years. Serious misfortune struck the family in August 1949 when a lightning struck the barn at Greyhaven Farm, burning it to the ground. Fortunately, the herd of 20 show cows was at the Ohio State Fair. Talk about a blessing, huh?
Mm-hmm. Well, I
However,
think
because
it was August, and so all the cows were out to pasture. I think they lost a few young animals, but the rest of the cows that were not at the fair um, were
they
not
weren't
burned in
burned
the
up.
fire. But they
Oh,
did
that's
lose a
good.
few. They did use a few animals, as I
Like
understand it.
calves and stuff. All
Yep.
right. So, because insurance payments would not cover the cost of the barn's replacement, Hansen reluctantly consigned his excellent 3-year-old cow, Greyhaven Argos Pat, to the franchisor's sale that fall. Pat topped the sale at $12,000, the highest price paid for any purebred dairy animal sold at auction in the United States in 1949. That's amazing.
That's
What
over
an,
$100,000 today.
what an amazing grandfather we had. The
What year was that?
Hansens,
1949.
1949. The
See,
Hansens continued to succeed in the purebred Guernsey business throughout the 1950s, which our dad was born in 37. So 1950s was when he was a teenager. He graduated in 55. So
that's
with
actually
several,
170,000 dollars today.
isn't that crazy?
That's crazy. Yep.
The Hansons, continued with several animals taking top prizes in state, national, and international shows. For a 20-year Guernsey herd in the late 1940s, one would expect to find no more than 1 excellent rated cow per herd. However, Hansen had produced 4, all from his own breeding program with none from purchased animals. The reputation of this small herd reached the Ohio State University in the mid-50s when Hansen sold a bull to the Dairy Science Department for OSU's Guernsey breeding program. In 1960, the herd reached its peak, earning Hansen the Premier Breeder and Premier Exhibitor banners. In addition, Greyhaven Farm was also recognized for many class leaders in milk production. Although he and his family gained a statewide and national reputation for prize show animals based on the sold record of breeding outstanding Guernsey. Okay, now I got to flip over to the other side of the article. Cattle, Hansen was also continued to nurture the younger generation of Guernsey breeders. Many parents came to Greyhaven with their 4-H children to purchase show heifers for dairy projects. Hanson was regularly found in the show barns at the fair time, helping a youngster to get the heifer ready for the show. For the more than 25 years that he was actively engaged in the Guernsey cattle business, Hanson's service to the breed included serving on the board of directors and holding various offices, including president of both the North Central Ohio Guernsey Breeders Association and the Ohio Guernsey Breeders Association. He was a member of numerous sale committees that traveled through the Midwest and Eastern United States looking for cattle for sale. He also earned the right to participate in shows as an approved judge, a task which took him to many county, district 4-H, and open shows around Ohio. Because of his perception of artificial breeding as a basis for improving the small farmer dairy and the dairy business in general, he became one of the founding members of the Northern Ohio Breeders Association in Tiffin.
That I did not know.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh? Isn't Jeff Ziegler involved in that kind of stuff?
Well, I think he was at one time. I'm not sure what he's doing today, but yeah.
Yeah. The run of success ended in the middle 1960s when Hanson opted to end his career in the dairy business because of a losing battle in the herd with John's disease. Because
Yonis. Yeah.
what's it called? Yoni's?
It's pronounced Yonis. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can see that now. Because he prided himself on selling his animals satisfaction guaranteed, he did not want to risk selling this deadly disease to someone else. 25 years of skillfully bred Greyhaven Guernsey cattle were sold instead for slaughter. Oh, that's just so sickening. Now in his mid-70s, Hanson remains an ardent supporter of local youth, having served on the Bellevue School Board, seldom missing a Bellevue basketball game, and offering support and advice to the local FFA chapter. As noted by his son, Robert Hanson, who teaches and conducts research at the OSU Worcester branch, and who nominated Hanson for the prestigious Reinhardt Award, visit the lovely, tidy home 2 miles south of Bellevue and dare to bring up the Guernsey cattle, and you will be in for an hour or two of reminiscing as you are escorted through May's carefully kept scrapbooks of photos of 25 years worth of prize-winning Guernsey cattle. May, a winning wife and homemaker, will serve up coffee and some of her famous baked goods to make the evening complete.
Famous, huh?
Isn't that true? Whenever you went to grandma's house, you always got fed milk and cookies or coffee. She always had coffee on. You know what they say, like the coffee's kind of bad for you? I'm like, Grandma Hanson had coffee from the time she was 3 until she was 97. So
Oh, really?
if it was bad for you, it probably would have killed her. When she was a girl, she told me this once. When she was a girl, milk was expensive, but coffee was much cheaper. So they
Right.
would take her milk and put coffee in it to kind of water it down, and then they called it coffee milk. And so Grandma, from the time she was a baby, was drinking coffee. Isn't that funny?
Did this picture get any bigger or did it not really change?
I wasn't looking because I was looking at the article that I have right in front of me.
But you can see my pointer
I don't see a pointer.
on the screen. Well, the bottom right picture is Bill
Right.
and this is
I thought I'd read the
saying,
little captions if you want, unless you want to read them.
yeah, I'll take a turn here and let you catch your
Okay.
breath.
Yep.
So let's start at the top.
right.
So Hanson's son Bob, who is Cheryl and I's father, is shown in this 1951 picture, loading the Ohio State Fair junior champion into a railroad car for shipment to national competition held that year in Waterloo, Iowa. So 1951, they went all the way out to Waterloo, Iowa to show animals.
Right.
And
It is a
there's
good
Dad.
looking cow.
Let's see. Dad was born in
37.
37.
So this was his like freshman year of high school here.
So he's 14 years old there. Yeah.
Yep.
I can see myself in his face there.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think you and Ben look the most like Dad for sure.
And then
I think you and Ben and Andy all have the Hanson look, and me and Matt and Dave look more like Cunningham's. But it's true.
and in the middle there, this pair of Guernsey cows were named Reserve All-American at the 1955 International Dairy Show. Both were developed by our Hanson owner, Greyhaven Farm, rural Bellevue. The pair was picked by Guernsey show participants as being the best representatives from all the Guernseys shown in the country.
Isn't that crazy? And it says
Wow.
international. So they might have been competing against, cattle from Guernsey Island, that kind of thing. This is Connie and Candy, right?
I don't know, quite possibly.
Well, they run the fraternity at Ohio State. I know that.
Yeah. that is a really top-notch cow there right in front. And I'm sure the other one you
Yeah.
just can't see her as well, but she is put together really well there. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Beautiful. Absolutely. I mean, when you look at her,
Yeah.
she looks like the one on the statue. You know,
Yeah.
the little statue that they gave Grandpa. I have it. It's kind of broken, so I've put it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, she looks like the cow that's on the statue as the perfect cow. But
Then
I have
down in
I have
the
kind of a hang on, I have kind of a funny story about these. The two cows, Connie and Candy, that
yeah.
were on our walls growing up. And these were big frames. These were probably 20 by 24 frames. And they were on the wall in our dining room. And Steve and I grew up with these cows on the wall. So that was nothing, didn't mean anything to us. That's just what we did. And so when my husband Martin first came to visit in the fall of 1980,
Okay.
um, he he lived in his dad always built him brand new homes. They always had brand new homes wherever they went. And so he walked into our farmhouse at Gray Haven there, which had been built in 1830. And he said he just looked around and he was like, "Whoa." And he went over and he checked out these huge pictures of these cows on the walls and he thought, "Who puts portraits of cattle on their walls?" And then he looked up and the big corn clock is up in the corner, you know. He just thought he'd landed on Mars or something.
And to us, that was just as normal and natural as could be. I mean,
Yeah. We'd
who
seen it
who
since we were children.
who wouldn't have their cows on their walls?
Exactly. I mean,
So
gee,
so anyway, um, down here lower left, we have in 1955, Hanson's daughter Jean took national grand champion honors at the Dairy Cattle Congress with Gray Haven's Colonel's Penny.
and that was
And
in Iowa.
yeah, and
Yep,
Penny was obviously one of the top-notch show cows that came out of Gray Haven Farm there.
for sure.
And then down here in the lower right, we have raising top-notch Guernseys was a family affair at Gray Haven Farm. Hanson's son Bill is shown in 1953 with two-time grand champion Gray Haven
Lady,
Lady Petunia.
right.
So there's Petunia. So yeah, there was times there in the 50s and early 60s when they were winning everything around. Um, the cows were there right into the early 70s. Uh, I think 72, 71 was by 73 they were gone, but I was there. I was out there in the barn and watched them pull the last dead cow out of the barn with the Farmall H, with the chain around its neck. They
Yeah.
pulled it out and then it got loaded up and hauled away. But I was there as a boy when that last cow got pulled out of there. So
By the time I got there, they were gone,
yeah,
which would have been the summer of 72, I guess.
73. Yeah, you
Yeah.
guys,
Yeah.
you
Because I
guys,
went into fourth grade that year. You're right.
yeah.
Summer of 73. Yeah.
So
But
here is, I think this is the same cow. I think this is Petunia. I think maybe
yes, it is.
that's. I
It
think
looks like Petunia.
so. Yeah, it's got enough color there. Yeah.
Yep.
And now that would be a Bill who I think is a little older than the one down here,
Yes,
maybe 2 years older.
for sure. So
So
Petunia was a little older by then, too.
yeah, so this was a more mature Petunia. You can
Hmm.
see there the Quonset, which none of the boys would remember the Quonset, but you certainly do.
Oh, yeah.
And
And the
but
milk house right there.
I wanted to talk about this fella here. So this is Argo, and Argo, he bought Argo from a very well-known Guernsey farm up in upstate New York, and this was still early on in their development. This fella here showed up as just a little calf, a little bull calf in a crate that got shipped out by rail from New York all the way to Bellevue, Ohio. And they went up and picked him up as a little calf up there in Bellevue. And then he became the primary bull there at the farm. I think Grandpa back in those days would keep at least two bulls,
Yeah.
because yeah, I mean you would need at least a couple bulls, but Argo lived there in one of those corner stalls back on the north end of the barn,
I remember.
and
Northeast
and
corner.
he was
He was feisty.
he was the primary bull, and he was of course the sire to Candy and Connie. Am I
Right.
saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so he was the sire to many of the Grand Champion cows there. But he lived out his life there on Gray Haven Farm and was given active duty there in the pasture, and
That's a
and
nice
that
way to put it.
he was the fella in charge out there. Now, one of the things you got to do, and I don't understand. Obviously, you got to be careful because you don't want the sire mating with his daughters, and I don't know that the cows know the difference.
Right.
Um, and so you have to be careful about who's in the pasture, with whom
You have
and
to
at
be
what
vigilant.
times.
Yeah.
So you'd have to keep track of those kind of things because I don't know that there's anything that would keep that from happening. So
Just keep the other
um,
ones in the barn, I suppose.
now that's of
Keep
course why artificial insemination became
more
so much
popular.
popular because you didn't have to try to manage all that.
Right.
Uh, but but he was the fellow that was the stalwart of the herd there, and probably was responsible for more of the herd there at Gray Haven Farm than any other bull.
Right.
So that's kind of the story of Argo. Let's see, what do we have here? This is Connie, and that was Dad's show cow that won the Futurity there at Ohio State.
Yeah. And explain what the futurity is.
Well, the Futurity.
It's when sisters win, right?
Well, no, the Futurity is just a special show that they have for 2-year-olds,
Okay.
which is the first year that they come into milk. But what happened here is Connie won it one year, and then Candy won it the next year, and they were sisters. And that was like totally unheard of to have two sisters win it 2 years in a row.
And Candy
In fact,
must have been an Uncle Bill's cow.
yeah, Candy was Uncle Bill's and Connie was Dad's.
Right.
And then of course they won many sister kind of contests when there would be produce of dam or whatever.
Right.
They won a lot of those kind of classes. But I don't know that it had ever been repeated where two sisters had won the Guernsey Futurity down at Ohio State. So that was what it was kind of cool about that whole scene. And
And
this
that's
was back
probably why these two cows were on the walls in our dining room, because one was Bob's and one was Bill's.
yeah. And this was back in the day when there were a lot more Guernseys in Ohio and throughout the country.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just don't have anywhere near the same amount of dairy herds and the same amount of Guernseys. It used to be back in those days, back in the 50s, that there were as many Guernseys as there were Holsteins.
Yeah. You know what
And
happened? They had that stupid food pyramid thing where they said fat was bad, and
right,
Guernseys give a high butterfat content. So all of a
right.
sudden, Holsteins took over because people didn't want butterfat. And now people love butterfat and it doesn't make you fat. And now the Guernseys are all gone for no reason. Just makes
And
you
well,
want to
they
scream.
also have beta carotene and much higher protein content milk. So it really is they're called golden Guernseys because it's golden milk, and it really is
Healthier.
it is much healthier and richer, and it's just a much higher quality of milk. Now jerseys have their place too, and of course you have brown Swiss and Ayrshire, and there's a few other breeds out there, but Guernseys are kind of considered the breed of the rich and famous, if you
Yeah.
will. So
Well, that's what I wanted to tell you, this little Facebook story. There's a
yeah,
there's
go
a
for it.
there's a Facebook group all about dairy cattle. And this particular farm has all the breeds. And so they were curious what was the most popular breed. So they started pairing them up, like put the Ayrshire against the Brown
Hmm,
Swiss, and whichever one won, they'd move on to the next, kind of like a basketball championship thing.
sure.
And Guernseys came out on top of all like 6 breeds that they had. So,
Well,
but of course they did.
I'm surprised that people would even be that smart, but there you go.
Yeah.
Not that's definitely how we would have scored it.
Yeah.
Um,
And I did. I voted every time.
so someday, Cheryl, we're going to get Gray Haven Farm put back together,
Yep.
and we're going to have Guernsey cows again, and we're going to sell, top quality milk and other Guernsey dairy products. And we're not just going to have one of these farms; we're going to have tens and even 100. So one step at a time. But this was one step forward, was just to share all this and talk about the background and put these seeds of hope and seeds of faith out here so that they can start to take root. So
We've got to, do you have those pictures of you and I showing our cattle at the fair? If not, we could pop them up another night.
I do, but I don't know if it'll be next Sunday, but sometime soon. Next Sunday, I'm going to be at your house actually,
Right.
but sometime soon, I
Well, that
want to
would
go
be kind
through.
of fun to do a Facebook Live together.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah,
Um, Sometime I want to go through the history of my dairy experience with Grandpa and the cows that we bought, and just talk about that whole thing. So that
for
probably won't
sure.
be next week because I'll need to be here to really do that.
Right.
But we will talk about my experience with the Guernsey cows. So tomorrow night, segment, gosh, is this 21, 22, 23 maybe? I think it's
Yeah, somewhere
23.
in there.
Cheryl's Boyfriend Countdown Calendar. Do you want a little preview? Who's up next?
Well, I'm going to talk about a guy that I had actually forgotten until Steve and I were talking last week. His name is Jason Gunlock, and I think he was from Ashton, Idaho. So we might need to find out from the Crittendens if they remember this Jason. But he was one of the first boys I met at Rick's College, and so that would
Now,
be a fun topic.
how would the Crittendens know?
Well, I think they were like all from that same area because when we went up to one of our date was to go up and harvest potatoes all day, which was
Okay.
loads of fun, as you can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
But we went north of Rexburg and went up that area where you used to live with the Crittendens. So
Well, at least you knew what you were getting into if you hung on to that boy, and maybe that's why you didn't hang on. But
I know.
um, so hey,
So
I did reach out to Stan. I was able to get a hold of Stan Crittenden, and he just let me know that his mom is they've got her in some kind of a care facility up there. He said, just in his short message there, he said something to the effect that, she remembers most of her kids most days. So
yeah,
it sounds like a similar kind of thing to what Dad's dealing with.
right.
But if I'm able to, I still may try to get up there, and she may, that's from a much earlier part of her life. She may remember me.
Yeah, the
Um,
long-term memory is usually much better, which I think is why Dad remembers me, but not Monica and Natalie.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy. But yeah, I may try to get up there and see her sometime in the next couple months. It's a bit of a trip up there, but it would be great to see her before she passes on.
yep,
She was the one that, really gave it to me. If I go to Southern California, I'm not
not
gonna
gonna
make it. There's too
thrive.
many temptations down there. So,
How
but
funny.
I think that did kind of stick in the back of my mind, like, okay, I've got to prove her wrong.
Right. Yeah. Which
Um,
was kind of
not,
cool that she did that for you.
not that not that things would have fell apart if she hadn't, but she cared enough to say, hey, I'm worried about what you're doing here, and I don't know that this is going to get you where you need to go.
Well, the
So
influence in Southern California is kind of a hippie thing with the girls in the bikinis and all that. And I could see where
yeah,
she's coming from.
yeah, but I did find really good people to hang out with down there, and had a really positive experience too. So, you can kind of find what you're looking for in life. And there are bad things in Rexburg, Idaho. They're just percentage wise much lower.
Right. Yeah.
So,
But I think there's actually more Mormons in California than there is in Utah just because the population's so much bigger. I heard that once. And it
no, I'm not
surprised
going to
me.
go with, I'm not going to go with,
You should look it up.
I'm not going to go with that one.
All right,
No.
I'll look it up then.
All right.
So I wanted to say something about the dairy products that we can make
Yeah.
with this Guernsey milk.
Yeah. Go for it.
Well, Mom used to, we would have meals at the farm table where everything on the table came from Grey Haven, which was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But Mom used to we had these buckets that we would bring the milk in that were quite wide at the top, and the cream would come to the top. And in a gallon of milk, we would get about a quart of cream off.
Hmm.
So she would
Yeah.
always have me put the ladle down in and pull the cream off. So that was my job, which was kind of fun actually. We'd let it sit overnight so that all the cream would come to the top, and then I would pull it off, and then we would make butter. And the butter in the summertime when the cattle were grazing on green grass, the butter was like school bus orange. I mean,
Right.
it was so bright orange. And then she taught me how to like wash the butter so that it doesn't get rancid, and add a little salt and everything. So anyway, I do know how to make butter. I can do that.
So, Cheryl, it was interesting. This little teaser that I put out about our show tonight, it had 1,300 views. Like 1,300 people had scrolled past that,
Right.
which was amazing. I never had one hit that high. What's also amazing is right now, apparently, according to Facebook, we have 0 viewers. Now,
That's
there will people that will catch this on the replay and
right.
whatnot. but I thought we might come in here tonight and like see 50 or 100 viewers based on
Right.
that 1,300. And right now we've got 0, but we'll
Which
see
is
where
so
this
funny
goes.
because last week one went up to 55 when I was watching you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know
usually
what? We don't
cousin
do it.
Aaron's on, but he must be busy tonight or fell asleep
We,
early or something.
we don't just do this for the Facebook audience. We're doing this for the heavenly audience.
Yes,
And I can tell you, we're getting a lot of singing and shouts from the armies of heaven. So
we're getting a lot of likes.
we're getting a lot of likes from the armies of heaven. Facebook just hasn't figured out how to record those.
That's
So,
right.
all right,
All right.
that'll be a different technology. All right, well, we will plan to if I don't talk to you before then, we'll plan to catch up with you tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Sounds good.
Yep, thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Good night, everybody.